Hi guys, it's Dr. Tashana Stokes at Doc Mom MD, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about allergies. So I'm very fortunate to be able to treat children every day in the office. But if you're like me, you've been suffering this season with some of the same symptoms, whether it be swollen eyes, itchy throat, nasal congestion, eye redness, cough, and even rashes. All of this can be attributed to what we're dealing with this season. For most of us, antihistamines are just kept on the regular. Every season we have our Zyrtec, Flonase, Allegra, Zylol, all out Benadryl, whatever it takes to be able to help to give us a little bit of relief. Because the allergen profile can really vary, some people have issues in either the fall or the actual spring. Depending on what your physician has to say, they'll probably give you suggestions as to which type of medication may actually work better. If you have significant sinus pressure, sometimes they'll even recommend a particular type of nasal spray. I can still remember when the over-the-counter medications were actually prescription. You used to have a prescription to get those medicines that we see commercials for now, like your Claritin or your Zyrtec. A lot of parents come to me and ask me about allergy testing and whether or not they should consider doing testing during this season. I usually ask, what is the reason for testing? If you know you go outside and there's pollen all over your car and you start sneezing, you already know you're allergic to pollen. Now that's a little bit different if there are allergies concerning things like food or bug bites, mosquito bites, things like that. That's a little bit different because then it is important to know what you're allergic to and also to determine how significant we need to treat that. Do you need something like an EpiPen or do you need to constantly keep Benadryl with you on the regular? Several of my parents do not feel comfortable giving their children medication every day. I think it's a little bit easier to say that if you're not the one who has to suffer from those allergens. I tell parents if you can tell that they feel better with them, you'll start off by just trying it for a few days in a row, and then maybe you can skip a few days, or maybe you could just use it as needed once you get those significant symptoms under control. If I have an option between an oral medication or a nasal spray, I usually will choose a nasal spray just because you actually can put the medication locally and you don't have to worry about systemic side effects, like drowsiness or fatigue or dry mouth, some of those symptoms that we'll see with antihistamines. Now, if your child is in that category where you're doing nasal sprays and oral antihistamines and topical treatments for eczema and you're still not seeing any relief, I definitely would recommend that you see an allergist. Often immunotherapy is used for those refractory patients. Now, immunotherapy, better known as allergy shots, can be a huge commitment, but can provide significant relief. The allergist usually will be very upfront with patients, letting them know that you'll usually have to do that treatment upwards of like 2 to 3 years. So when I have a parent that says, oh, Dr. Stokes, my kid's having issues, I want to put them on allergy shots, I just try to remind them it will be a few years before you see relief, and you'll still need those antihistamines earlier on. Now, there are a few natural remedies that some people can benefit from. It really depends on how significant your symptoms are. So, a lot of people will choose to do like a bee pollen or a natural honey, like a local honey from your area, where the little bee goes from flower to flower, and then hopefully that honey will give you little small doses of that allergen so that you will not have as significant of effects. Now, I usually encourage families, if a child can tolerate it, to do saline rinses every day. Now, I know it's a bit much, but it really helps to flush out those nasal passages. And I also like to use colloidal silver. Again, when you spray that in the nose, it just acts as like a local clearance for all of that mucus and inflammation that can be there. A lot of people get relief from using vaporizers that actually do some of your essential oils that can help to open up and cause some nasal clearance. Now, you got to do the practical stuff too. Make sure you're dusting and mopping and not going in the home with shoes because you're tracking things in over time. Now, there's some other allergens such as dust mites, where you'll use a special type of pillow or carpeting can actually be an issue. So when I talk to families about, oh, you know what, you might want to remove carpet from the rooms, they're like, Dr. Stokes, that's expensive. But if you think about a lifetime of antihistamines or specialty care with the allergist or allergy shots, sometimes in the long run, you'll end up saving yourself a little bit. Now, if you felt like this video was helpful, and if you're like me, you're suffering this season, make sure you share this with others so they can have a little bit of help with their relief too. We know that allergens affect kids as well as adults. Let's just hope next allergy season we will be ready and prepared. Start now with some of these healthy tips so that we'll be ready when the spring comes.